Coming up on Tech News Today, embedding video is not a crime. The court says so, at least the appeals court for now. New broadcast network for mobile phones, and why no love for the prepaid phones? All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, August 3rd, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by our live special coverage of the Mars Curiosity landing. Tune in live this Sunday, August 5th at 10 p.m. Pacific at live.twit.tv for breaking news coverage of whether it crash lands or not. Hopefully not. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Jason Howell.
This is the show where we take a look at the most important stories of the tech world, give you some context, and we always start with the top 10 stories in the news feeds. Windows 8's Metro interface is no longer called Metro. Ars Technica reports Microsoft's legal and corporate affairs team sent an internal memo banning the term after German retailer Metro AG claimed trademark infringement. Metro AG operates the MediaMarkt and Saturn consumer electronics stores. Until a new name is created, Microsoft will use the snappy Windows 8 style UI when talking about Windows 8 applications and, quote, new user interface when talking about the company's full product lineup.
This crashes my dreams about the future Microsoft commercial. Riding on the Metro.
I wonder if, like, Metro people are going to get sued next.
One never knows. Samsung Electronics will unveil something at an event on August 29th, and if you believe rumor mills, it will be the new Galaxy Note, and it may be the Note 10. We saw at CES, since Negri Electronics is already taking pre-orders for that model. The August 29th event is about 2 weeks before the debut of Apple's new iPhone, if you believe those rumors as well.
That's the perfect phone, by the way. It just is. It's
Note
the perfect size. The Note 10, perfect size for a phone.
For giants. Stop me if you've heard this one. Yahoo's losing an executive. According to All Things D, Yahoo's VP of Infrastructure, Adam Bechtel, is leaving for Apple. While at Yahoo, Bechtel took care of things like storage technologies and data centers. Senior Director of Product Management, Jonathan Katzman, is also saying goodbye. He managed photo and social initiatives.
Purge. Microsoft recently announced that Windows 8 development was complete, and it only took 1 day to be leaked online. Official access to the Windows 8 for Microsoft developers or MSDN and TechNet customers doesn't actually start until the 15th. Now, the leaked version of Windows 8 was the N edition, which stands for not including Windows Media Player.
Judge Posner of the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled Thursday that bookmarking site MyVidster did not violate copyright law by embedding video from other sources. Judge Posner compared it to theater listings, and he also ruled that viewing an infringing video does not violate copyright as long as the viewer does not make a copy.
France's new culture minister, Aurélie Filippetti, plans to cut the budget of Hadopi, the country's internet piracy fighting agency. Infamous one at that. She said she'll announce the amount of the cuts in December, but stated, one thing is clear, Hadopi has not fulfilled its mission of developing legal content offerings.
Google Wallet added support for credit cards from Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. One small snag, though. Amex told All Things D that Google does not have its approval for the use of Amex in Wallet. While Google Wallet can store American Express information, without a formal deal, Amex could shut off the feature. Visa and MasterCard do have formal deals with Google.
RIM CEO Thorsten Heinz told The Telegraph that RIM at one point seriously investigated Android as a platform. Now, the company decided a Me Too strategy just didn't fit. RIM decided, like Nokia, that it couldn't differentiate enough in Google's ecosystem.
Another fine mess they've got themselves into. Have you been dying to watch live broadcast television on your smartphone without using your data connection?
Yes, Tom.
Yeah,
how'd you know?
Well, your day has come, Sarah Lane. The Samsung Galaxy S Light Ray 4G is now available for order from Metro PCS. The $459 LTE phone runs Android 2.3, but comes with Dial, spelled D-Y-L-E. That's a new service provided by broadcasters in some regions of the U.S. to provide broadcast TV from ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, and others directly to smartphones.
That's the future, man. ABC, CBS, Fox, future.
Telemundo.
Yeah.
Cubo.
Hey, Tom, do you still have your World of Warcraft subscription?
I do, yeah. I was playing
Well, then, this isn't your fault.
Oh, good.
The game lost 1 million subscribers last quarter, down to 9 million from a high of more than 12 million 2 years ago. Blizzard Entertainment President Mike Morhaime told... Mike Morhaime. I've heard that name so many times on the show, but I still don't get it right. Told analysts that a similar dip was seen in the run-up to the previous Warcraft expansion.
Warcraft.
I'm sorry, Freudian slip. Cataclysm. A new Warcraft expansion full of Kurt pandas is set for release September 25th. I don't think it's crap, okay? It just happens.
Sometimes that happens.
Warcraft.
In Sarah's defense, a man was trying to climb the Golden Gate Bridge this morning, and she got here like 2 seconds before we started the show. What was that about?
Well, it wasn't me.
No, you. Yeah, I said a man.
No, we heard they closed all the lanes, and you were on the bridge, and we're like, no, Sarah Lane.
They closed Sarah Lane. Specifically. Yeah, it was a very strange morning so far.
All right, let's dig a little deeper into some discussion stories. We'll start with that Microsoft Metro rebranding. No more Metro. Metro AG, as we mentioned, operates consumer electronics stores. They also operate the Metro Cash and Carry stores. So maybe that's a wholesaler that sells things like direct to restaurants and stuff. So maybe restaurants will be able to buy their own UI.
Wholesale UIs.
Wholesale UIs for restaurants. Anyway, the PR folks at Microsoft gave Ars Technica the following quote. "We have used Metro Style as a code name during the product development cycle across many of our product lines. As we get closer to launch and transition from industry dialogue to a broad consumer dialogue, we will use our commercial names." What would be those commercial names, Microsoft? Well, they didn't say. The Verge reports that Microsoft is scrambling to create a new name, as I mentioned in Newsfuse. Until then, they'll call it Windows 8 Style UI and new user interface. I assume this means you won't call it Metro Tiles in Windows Phone either, that they just have pretty much given up that term. Here's the question. What should they call the interface?
M.
Oh, like just kind of stick it to Metro AG?
Yeah, and
like,
you know
fine.
why? You know why? Okay, so who remembers the Nintendo Dolphin or the Nintendo Revolution? We never saw those. They came out as the, what is it?
I remember the Revolution because they called it the Wii, and I still wish they'd kept the code name.
Yeah, well, but what about the #1 handheld gaming platform, the Nintendo, not dual screen, the Nintendo DS? And so just go with a letter, because at least then you can like throw a little trademark thingy on it.
But it's an interface. Does that? I mean, Metro actually seemed to describe the interface.
Maybe Program Manager would be more appropriate, or Commander. We haven't used.
I like
Shell?
that.
Shell.
Yes.
The Windows Shell
Shell's
Commander Manager.
Shell Commander.
Yeah.
No,
Shell Commander.
No.
That's not going to work for the
what's
general
gonna
public.
work? Commander.
Yeah.
Windows Premium Tile-based operating system.
I like that.
Premium tile-based operating system.
There we go.
Deluxe Genuine. A+++.
I like the new
Consumer quality.
new user interface. So the GUI is the NUI.
The NUI?
NUI.
Yeah,
Yeah,
NUI.
the NUI.
We'll call
Yeah,
it NUI.
and then you can have a Hawaiian theme.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you can say it's the next thing. You can call it Next. Oh, wait.
Well, actually, Next is dead. Why not?
Yeah.
Apple's got it though.
Yeah,
They own the trademark.
Windows Next. Well, that'd be a nice fight to report on later.
I wonder if Apple will ever use that trademark.
They could just go with Explorer. I mean, that's been working for them.
They could make like an ice cream joke and call it Microsoft Serve.
Ooh, I like
Awful.
I think you just won. All right, good. You win. It's Friday.
Yep.
That was Merritt
I
style
am looking forward to the soft serve Microsoft. Bring it.
See, I was working on some tile joke with your bathroom, but that's
no.
that'd be good. Yeah. All right.
boy.
Let's talk about the fact that the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals says embedding is not a crime.
Yeah, so this is in reference to a specific case that's been ongoing between a video bookmarking site, MyVidster, and a porn production company called FlavaWorks, spelled like Flava Flav. This started in 2010. FlavaWorks sued MyVidster and said, you're violating copyright. You are allowing people to embed video, bookmark video through your site. So The case has been ongoing for a while. Flavorworks had originally obtained a preliminary injunction against MyVidster with a lower court ruling last year in 2011. But yesterday, 7th Court Judge Richard Posner threw out that decision. What he says is MyVidster is giving surfers addresses where they can find entertainment. Okay, he likens it to something you might read about in The New Yorker. If you list plays and give the name and addresses of the theaters where these plays are being performed, The New Yorker is not performing them. It's not transmitting or communicating them. MyVidster, like something like that, doesn't actually touch a data stream at all, flows directly from one computer to another, neither being owned nor operated by MyVidster. Now, he says, as if you, the visitor, if you're not making a copy of this copyrighted video that you're watching, you're not violating copyright owner's exclusive right. He says this is kind of like stealing a copyrighted book from a bookstore and reading it. You shouldn't do that. It's a bad thing to do, but it is not specifically copyright infringement.
Okay, we can start getting an analogy words.
It's more like reading the magazine without buying it at the checkout line.
Well, it's more like somebody stole a bunch of magazines and then lets you read them. You aren't committing the crime for reading the magazines that somebody else stole.
You're making a copy in RAM, so it's there.
Right, but I'm just saying, you steal a bunch of magazines and then Iyaz reads your magazine. Yeah. Iyaz isn't breaking the law. You broke the law.
Oh, okay.
So what the judge is saying is like the people who hosting the video are probably breaking the law, but just embedding that video, that's not breaking the law because he's acknowledging the way the web works.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
This is starting to become more usual in court cases.
And what this is, though, is there's a technological fix to this. They just put a thing in their code that says, hey, if your referrer isn't this site, don't play the video. I mean, there's ways around that, but at least it would thwart like 90% of the problem.
Now, MyVidster wasn't just completely in the clear. The same judge has ruled MyVidster used to offer a caching feature to people who paying members so they could store copies of videos on its servers. He says, you can't do that. But the part of your business model that is at question as far as copyright infringement goes, embedding material simply isn't this.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's called copyright. If you make a copy, I mean, that's an interesting question if you make a copy in RAM. I guess
it's been used before in court.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
Oh, well, you obviously copied it because it's in your RAM and your hard drive.
Right. The plaintiffs have put forth like it is a copy, and this judge is like, that's temporary, that's ephemeral.
And an embed is not a copy. It's simply like, okay, it's almost like having a window into some other place. And like you were saying, Darren, you can turn it off anyway, so it's not that big a deal. And this idea that if you copy something, you're in trouble, yeah, that's the point. It's copyright. So the viewer of copyrighted material does get in trouble. Because, again, like you might not even know. Like if I was reading Darren's magazines, I didn't know he stole them. I have no idea. It's almost if you buy a bootleg DVD, you don't really get in that much trouble. It's the guy who's selling it or copy it in the first place.
I wonder if they could claim copyright on the actual embed code that the site is using to get the video to show up on their page.
Yeah.
The iframe or object code that's...
No, because they're not embedding it from the copyright holder. They're embedding it from some other infringer. So they can't. The copyright holder isn't going to...
see, I read this as in they were just embedding the paid video, bypassing the paywall.
Somebody else is infringing
Somebody's
copyright.
Somebody's ripped it, and then they're embedding it from there. Got it.
I think what it surprises me most is there's no talk of inducement. Because this has been a defense for lots of systems out there, but they always say, well, it doesn't matter that you're not hosting or you're not making the copy. You're inducing people to commit copyright infringement. So maybe Grokster, you aren't hosting the files of the copies or making the copies, but you are inducing people to do so. In this case, I guess there's no inducement because you're not getting anyone to make a copy. You're just letting them view it, and that's why the judge says, well, just viewing something isn't violating the law.
Yeah, the inducement argument, I think.
You hear that, torrent freak?
They're using that thing against mega upload because there were incentives to have more downloads on your particular item, and if you are putting up copyrighted works, those usually got a lot more downloads than your PowerPoint presentation that you left at mega upload.
New York Times has a story today that shows that people are not rational consumers.
Yeah.
Essentially.
The question that was asked in the New York Times piece is, why aren't people buying prepaid cell phones if overall they're cheaper, generally, compared to the contract-based ones? And simple math shows that if you buy the phone, outright, the plans are cheaper per month for a lot of different phones. So the thing is, contract-free phones account for only 23% of wireless customers. This is according to research firm Ovum. And apparently, people aren't doing the math. They're not sitting there going, okay, what's a great idea? Should I spend $500 for this phone and then pay a less fee every month? Apparently, it's also psychology. People are just not, they're like, $100 now is fine. I can just go ahead.
Well, I mean, this is like the same psychology that works for credit card companies and layaway and rent to own.
And it's,
even though you pay more in the end, up front, you're like, well, I only have $100 in my pocket. I don't have 500, so that contract sounds better.
It's been working for mortgage companies for forever. You know, nobody can pony up $1 million, but you can buy a house, right?
Sure. You're spending a lot more on the house because you don't have the cash. Thing is, there are plenty of people who don't have the cash for like a $700 phone unlocked. That makes sense.
You're right.
But so it comes down to phone choice and inconvenience. Those are the two things. Can I afford the phone I want without paying the subsidized price? And if I can, do I want to go to the trouble of finding the unlocked version and then calling the company and getting the SIM and dealing with customer support? It's not that much of a trouble, but it's more trouble than just walking in and paying $199 for a subsidized phone.
Especially since the company employees are trained to try to steer you towards contracts because that's how they make more money.
Yeah, I do remember, like, I will admit, like, I bought the Note, the international version on launch day, unlocked. It was $700, so that was kind of ridiculous. But, you know, I lust technology. So anyway, that aside, when I walked into the AT&T store, they didn't want to serve me at first until finally I'm like, no, you have to give me a SIM, and they did, and it was kind of a pain. But this is a better example of, yeah, I know. This is a better example of one where I was just like, I just want a phone that'll last through the day, and so I got some like teenage texting phone, the Motorola.
I kinda like that,
yeah, I
actually.
love this guy.
It's kind of cool.
I think it's called the Flip Out because it's like flips out.
Wow.
But you know, to a company,
Is that really a thing?
yeah, it
That's
really
hilarious.
is the thing.
Wow.
So to a company, the largest Android phone, I got the smallest, and yeah, like Straight Talk or any of those other MVNOs, usually like under $50 a month. And what's interesting about those, I went and looked. There's 54 active MVNOs in the United States, and they're all just reselling 4 carriers. Which kind of boggles the mind because those 4 carriers are wholesaling to these guys eating their young.
Yeah.
But what is it going to take for people to understand that phones are computers? Like, we pay, you know, $1,000 for a laptop. You pay, you know, $500 for a laptop. But why is a phone, other than the fact that they start screaming, it's $100? And that's the thing, they'll be on the giant posters in the window. Why can't, like, where's that connection going to happen to somebody go, wait a second, this is what I'm using all the time as a computer. I could own this outright, and it could be mine.
If I've got $400 at the bank and I've got to pay rent, and I go in and they say, we'll give you this phone for free if you sign up for a contract, that's what happens. It's not, it's like, I can't afford a desktop or a laptop either.
But you've
So
paid for it twice over by the end of the year.
Yeah, but you're paying small amounts over time that you can afford to
Those
pay.
small amounts
it goes
you
right
could
back to
put-
what Sarah said about
but those-
rent-to-own and all
Those
of
small
that.
amounts you could put in the piggy bank and then 3 months later go and buy it outright.
That's not the way human brains
Next is the
work.
$350 at Google, $350.
Yeah.
For an unlocked awesome phone. It's crazy.
And people change their phones more often. We're used to that because of the subsidies. Like, oh, well, I'm gonna get a new phone every year or every 2 years. We don't necessarily change our desktop computers or laptop computers as because most people don't.
That's
I
actually
do.
why
I do. But
that's why I switched
I'm
to
a nut.
doing like prepaid SIMs and unlocked phones, just because I like to switch them way too frequently.
We might see more turnover because carriers are offering tablets and laptops. I still think that's strange. But they don't offer a substantial discount on those laptops.
Yeah, I'm
so
not
maybe.
buying a laptop on a
One thing
contract.
that
That's
a lot of people
ridiculous.
probably don't realize about prepaid, though, and I just learned this at RSA this year, was that there's actually these companies that do like assessments of customers based on their phone numbers, and it turns out that prepaid phone numbers have a different like risk assessment within the system. They can tell a number and say, hey, this is a prepaid. In fact, a lot of times they can even actually tell how much credit is on the line, how long they've been a customer and whatnot. And so they say that they have like different scores for like if you're been a Sprint customer for 3 years and, you always pay your bill, like it has a different rating, which I found fascinating.
And then what do they do with that information?
The company that I was talking to sells that to one-time password companies, basically. And so they use text messaging for one-time authorization. And so they have like a different risk assessment for like, oh, this one-time password went to some kid that's only had this phone for a month and it's prepaid.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, Sarah, you
Back in court.
didn't make it through another day without a Facebook story.
No, certainly not. I tried. What can
Did
I
your
say?
damnedest.
It is Friday, after all. So an ongoing case, it's actually a class action lawsuit brought against Facebook from 5 plaintiffs representing upwards of 100 million people, which came about last year, accusing Facebook of violating users' privacy by displaying their likeness, photos of them, and pages they had liked in sponsored stories listing, which actually happened to somebody that we work with here, which was very strange for her. Has been ongoing. Facebook tried to get this thrown out last year. They weren't successful. In May, the parties ended up deciding to agree on a deal. Coincidentally, Lucy Coe backed out of the case just after the settlement had been reached.
Yeah. She's
Lucy
like,
Coe,
I'd rather
of course,
do...
who's presiding over the Samsung Apple case now.
That was more fun.
I want the bigger one.
Yeah.
The one that's going to take, the rest of the year, if not longer. It's now being presided over by Judge Richard Seaborg. So the deal is the parties agreed back in May to a $20 million deal. The $20 million would partly go to charity, about half and half. So $10 million to charity, $10 million for the legal fees for this case, which adds up to $20 million. The judge says, and this is reported on by both Reuters and Wired, who have reporters in court. Judge says, wait, this doesn't make any sense. The numbers don't add up here. Facebook claimed that the settlement, which included changes to sponsored stories privacy, is worth about $123 million in value. So it's not only the time and effort, but it's changes to Facebook's, algorithm and that sort of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they gave it a price tag of $123 million. Mr. Seaborg says, well, why is this a $20 million settlement, though? Why aren't the plaintiffs getting any damages? Why aren't they fighting for that? Why isn't the settlement worth $100 million at least? Michael Rhodes, who's Facebook's attorney, shot back, quote, I'm not going to pay $100 million for a case I should win. Apparently, he's still a little sore that they didn't get him thrown out last year.
It's like, I forgive you for being mad at me. I'll pay your legal costs for suing me, but you're not going to profit from this.
Well, I mean, I guess the plaintiffs either, I don't know, they're tired of this. They don't feel like they're going to get any farther. It wasn't really about them getting money in the first place. It was about changing Facebook's policies. But it is unusual that for something that has such a high value as far as time spent and money and effort, that it would end up being a $20 million deal that all parties are agreeing on. And the judge is saying, well, wait a second. Plaintiffs are getting ripped off here. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know what the judge can do if they want to settle, other than advise that maybe they should reconsider the settlement.
The judge is just giving not a court opinion, just an opinion. This is a person going, this doesn't make any sense, but it has no impact whatsoever. It could just be me saying, this makes no sense. Big deal. Who cares?
You go, well, but he's the judge, right? So people respect him and listen to him, and theoretically, the plaintiffs might go, oh, the judge said, hold on, let's...
If they signed it, it's done. I mean,
if they've already signed it, there's nothing they can do?
Well, it's a contract. It's a settlement. It's not like...
Well, but they have to submit it to the court, so why even bother submitting it to the court at that point?
Well, usually they just sign off on it, because it's just a settlement. Like, the courts don't want to be dealing with this anyway. That's the point. They want this done and settled so they can move on to the next case.
I think this is I mean, obviously the judge is saying something just doesn't add up here. I don't know what's going on. But I think it's also, I mean, his job is to make sure that there's nothing rotten going on here. It's not as if anybody...
There's nobody being defrauded.
Exactly, or strong-armed into taking a settlement that's totally unfair and...
They walk to the court with a gun to the head or something.
That's just, does anyone have a gun?
I don't think that would go over so well.
No, the bailiff would stop that, right?
Not enforceable as a contract if there's a gun to your head.
If there's a gun to your head.
That's duress, I think.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's duress?
I'm pretty sure.
That qualifies as duress?
I think that'll nullify the contract.
Let's finish up with a couple of video stories. The big cable operators, well, they call them MSOs, satellite operators, cable operators, have reported their numbers of subscribers, and they're showing a decline for the second quarter of the year. Comcast lost 176,000 subscribers. Time Warner lost 169,000. Dish lost 10,000. DirecTV lost 52,000. That's 407,000 lost subscribers, and we haven't even heard from Charter and Cablevision, two of the other big cable providers here in the U.S. Now, granted, that's a small percentage of the 30 to 50 million, it's probably closer to 70 million all told of cable subscribers in the U.S. In fact, I think it's even more than that. So this is a very tiny percentage of subscriber loss. Also, Uverse from AT&T and Fios from Verizon added customers. Together, they added back 275,000. So if you take that out, the industry has only lost 132,000 lost subscribers, minus Charter and Cablevision. So, okay, let's just say they've lost 300,000, 400,000 subscribers for the quarter once Charter and Cablevision announced their news. The good news is Q2's always down. This is when students leave college, they cancel their cable subscriptions, they go off to travel. People move in the summer, so they don't have cable for a while during the move sometimes, or they just, you know, see if they can go without it for a while. But also,
it's not just cable though that's going down, and that's what I think is actually indicative of a
you
trend
mean Dish
here.
and DirecTV?
Well, yeah, the fact that you know.
But I'm just lumping that in with cable.
Well, yeah, but this is the first time that
television.
DirecTV has had a decline like this.
Yes, that is the bad news. Finish the good news. They added 422,000 subs in Q1, so they're still ahead for the year. The bad news is, as Darren points out, is it's the first decline ever for DirecTV and the 10th straight quarterly decline for Time Warner. So this is a continuing trend. Time Warner did have some good news. They added 59,000 internet subs. So here's the thing. Everybody's looking at this and saying, hey, this is evidence of cord cutting. Other more rational heads like Peter Kafka at All Things D say this is essentially saying that subscribership is flat. We can't say anything, especially because it's a down economy. Do we think this is just a blip, or is it a trend away from traditional pay TV?
I think it's a trend. It just isn't. These numbers are not like, whoa, we are really shifting in another direction. This has been a crazy quarter. Times are different. But I do think that this is a trend. I mean, I think that particularly if you look at Time Warner's, they lose some cable subscribers, they gain some internet subscribers. That makes sense to me. I mean, people need the internet in order, well, they don't need the internet in order to be able to watch TV, but you certainly need a good internet connection if you want to be a smart cord cutter and be able to get programming in a variety of different ways. So that's the trend that I see is, more maybe robust internet connections.
Yeah, the same trend actually happened with the telegraph companies, and then people ended up switching over to phone service, which they really considered to be superior. And, you know, you look at FM radio, you know, that's been on the decline. And then other technologies just pick up. And then eventually, television as we know it will be the, you know, like FM radio is now. And same with the internet, in fact. Sorry to burst your bubble there. It's not going to be with us forever.
What's going to replace the internet?
Oh, I'll tell you about it later, Tom.
Okay. It's an NDA.
Yeah.
What do you think, Iyaz? I mean, statistically, we can't say whether this is just the, you know, a temporary downturn because of the economy or a downturn because of the economy and a push from cord cutting. It's too early in the game. Eventually, we'll look at the graph. We'll look back at this graph and say, "Oh, well, that was obviously, you know, just either a temporary down or it was a part of the trend." We're right at the beginning of the curve. Which way do you think the curve is going to go?
Well, I think it's there's so many variables, like you're saying, with the economy. We have maturing video online. We have a lot of different versions of ways to get video at this point. It's totally changed. Before it was, this is the way you got your TV. I would think this is. I don't think this is a trend, as in television cord cutters. This is the big deal. I think this is an economic issue, really, because you have this big fat bill every month, and you're like, okay, well, am I watching these shows? Not really. Is it online? Yeah. So you're kind of cord cutting for economic reasons, not because people are like, I hate cable. It's like, no, I don't need cable television. I can watch this stuff anyway. So I think it's one influences the other. I don't really think that cord cutting is this gigantic. We have like these powerful rights or anything. It's none of that. It's
well,
like,
does it really matter though how you really feel? I mean, the action is the same.
Well, the thing
canceling
is,
your cable.
Well, except that you're still watching programming that is just being licensed on different mediums, and in this case, it's the internet, whether it's Netflix or Hulu or whatever have you.
My point is that you don't have to be like rah rah rah. Let's have a parade about cutting the cord. If you cut your cord, then they lose your subscription.
Well, I'm thinking that if it's based on economic reasons, they might just switch back when things pick up.
Got it.
Because cord cutters might go, this is it. I'm sticking for this for the long run. Versus people are like, I can watch this for now online. But if I get a raise or something, I'll go back to cable.
The economy going down actually is a bad sign for the cable industry, because what stops people from cord cutting is, ooh, I'm not sure I'll be able to get the shows I want. I don't know if I can live without this show. If the economy forces them into it, like, well, you know what? I'm just going to have to because I can't afford $75 a month. Then suddenly you go, wow, you know what? I don't really miss American Idol. I'm actually enjoying just playing video games and reading a book.
Let's not get crazy.
And it changes. It changes. You lose your habits.
Yeah.
And that can be deadly. I think the thing that interests me most about this story is Time Warner having a positive earnings quarter because of the internet, because they added subscribers. They're making money off the internet. And the worry has always been that they'll want to hold on with a death grip to their video and clamp down on their internet and lock it down because they're afraid of losing money. But if this says, hey, the money is in the internet, make the internet awesome, and people will spend more money on the internet. Don't ruin net neutrality. Don't put bandwidth caps. Just sell subscriptions, sell faster access. Maybe we'll finally see that argument turn the corner.
I wonder if there were any buggy whip companies that just kind of transformed into steering wheel manufacturers.
There's still. We actually found a buggy whip company that's still in operation.
No way.
Yeah, somebody sent us a link. Couple.
Do they make Swagger sticks as well? Because
they might.
All right.
You should. We'll check into it. Meanwhile, the television industry thinks they have a solution to mobile video called Dial.
Dial. Right, so we talked about it in the news feeds. But I mean, if you're going to pay for stuff, you're probably going to pay for a phone over cable. I think a lot of people pick cellular phones over watching television. But there's a service right now rolling out on Metro PCS called Dial, and it brings live television to one particular phone at this point. It's the Samsung Galaxy S Light Ray 4G. Catchy name. $460 buys you this phone, and it has an incredible accessory. It has a retractable antenna because what it does, it actually picks up special broadcast signals from a variety of content companies. And so one of the weird things about the phone, though, it has an HDMI out, and you can't put the video through it. So you can't watch Dial television on your television.
You could put videos that are on your phone out through the HDMI port, but not the Dial, live
service.
video.
But the service is free. Once you get this phone, you can pick up the waves completely. And the idea is that you're not using up cellular data. This is a separate network. You're accessing this way. But live TV, it hasn't taken off on phones. There was that whole Media Flow company and Flow Television. I mean, and portable televisions have been horrible for a long time because they just weren't built. The antenna system wasn't built for this. But is this going to work? I mean, is it like it's the Olympics times now? Is this like, oh great, I can watch live TV on my phone? Is this something anyone's interested in?
Well, people are interested in watching TWiT TV content on their phones. I mean, we make small video feeds specifically for that. So it's like, yeah, not everybody wants to, but certainly if you want to watch programming, it's nice to have it as an option. If I was watching the gymnastics final last night and my phone was the only way that I could access it, absolutely I'd watch it. It's my only screen, right?
And CNET's tests, apparently they could only get like about 3 channels at a time because it's obviously it's over the air, and this is a different kind of stuff. This is not going.
This is broadcast. This is not over any kind of data connection.
That's right. So
it's just like broadcast television, but it's built specifically for the smartphone because the smartphone has a hard time having enough antenna to pick up the normal broadcast.
So that means you have to wander around your office building or home to find out where the signal is going to be because this is something it's new. So I mean,
but it's digital. I mean, nobody's transmitting analog broadcast anymore.
Right, so which means you either get nothing.
Yeah, so you either have it or you don't. Maybe there's even an app, or will be one where maybe you'll have to be rooted, whatever. Where
it works through an app.
Oh, okay, but maybe there'll be like an app that allows you to cache some stuff, for later.
Oh, they won't allow that. They won't even allow HDMI out. Are you kidding me?
Please.
I mean, somebody will jailbreak it, but that's not. But that's not going to encourage the mass adoption.
Well, I mean, I feel like if I had to do live television and only live broadcast TV, then the only way to do it's like with a TiVo or a TiVo-esque device.
Or Slingbox or Aereo.
But you see what I'm saying is caching and watching when you want.
I think the big problem with live TV is that when you're looking at it on your portable device, you might go, I just missed something. You want to go back. And since this is broadcast only, you can't just say, I want to watch something that happened 20 minutes ago because it's not like a built-in DVR or anything. It's just waves. That's all you're getting.
This has been going on in like Japan for forever. I don't think the American market is really apt for this.
Why do we
I don't think
need
we're really going to see this catching on.
Broadcast signals sending the same content?
Because then you have 2 signals at the same time.
Yeah. Why? I mean, if this is better for smartphones and works for smartphones, why not just build smartphones into a smartphone receiver? This is called ATSC-MH. Why not build ATSC-MH receivers into televisions and have them receive over-the-air broadcast? You wouldn't need these big antennas to put on top of your house anymore if this works.
Some TVs have built-in digital antennas.
Yeah, and if you get Galaxy Note 10,
what I'm saying, why do we need 2 different types of broadcasting? One that goes to televisions and one that goes to smartphones. They get in the same program.
So you can shut one out versus the other. I mean, that's what it seems like.
Is there some issue with scaling?
It's probably the encoding.
If you have a huge screen?
The just physically the way that the ATSC is, you would need a larger antenna, and also because of the processing power and the resolution of the video and all of those things, down into your phone, it's probably just makes more sense to have like a lower bit rate stream.
Okay, if it's not as high resolution, I get that. But then we go back to the fact is how many people are going to use this? How necessary
Not
is this?
enough to keep this
Could
going.
this spectrum not be better used carrying data when we have a huge spectrum crunch instead of carrying a duplicate signal for a few smartphones that no one has bought or is likely to buy?
I agree, but I'll play devil's advocate and say that maybe this is just like a little bit of the current ATSC spectrum where they're like, oh, we don't have this 20 kilohertz at the tail end. What can we do with that? Oh, I know. We can use it for mobile.
Actually, that's a really good point because the FCC is going after spectrum that's not being used. So these guys are scrambling to use the spectrum for anything in order to show that they need to keep it. And they don't. That way they can eventually shut this down and sell it and not have the FCC just take it away.
Well, the FCC is going to, I think they're opening up an auction where the broadcasters, the local broadcasters, they're
trying to induce them.
Yeah, they're trying to get them to do that. And so if this works, I bet it's just simple math. If this makes them more money than selling it, they're going to do this ridiculous MCV concept.
Stunt.
But good luck with Dial. I really wanted mobile TV to work. I mean, I liked Flow TV. I thought that was a good idea because it had cable channels and it was a much lower cost.
Wasn't this like that Qualcomm thing?
Yes.
That was like a flash in the pan?
But because this other company was putting together Dial, Qualcomm couldn't get the content.
Oh, I
so
see.
they were crippled on content, but they had the technology, and now these guys have the content.
Now these have both.
Well, sort of. They don't have all the partners in the world.
Well, let's see if they can get any of the customers. That's what's important, right?
Before we get to the randomizer, just real quick, the Samsung-Apple trial is getting more and more ridiculous. Judge Lucy Koh has said that she is only going to allow objections to be made in person and will count against the respective parties' trial time because she considers some of these objections ridiculous. She also denied Apple's request for sanctions of Samsung's theatrics. And she's bringing in jurors one by one and asking them if they've read anything in the case, if they've seen any media reports based on the evidence that Samsung leaked earlier in the week. She is ruling this courtroom with an iron fist. Phil Schiller taking the stand today. That ought to be interesting. Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
So I just happened to see on dailydot.com today about this crowdsourced novel called The Diamond Club.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Who wrote this crowdsourced novel?
The audience of internet show The NSFW Show.
Oh, that's fascinating. Where can I tune into this NSFW show you speak of?
Yeah, if you haven't heard, Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young from the NSFW Show right here on TWiT put this together, got their audience to create some goofy erotica. They haven't even read all of it. But they put it up.
Like many hundreds of thousands of words long.
Yes, yeah. They put it up on
205 pages
on iBookstore. And it's called The Diamond Club, which is the name of the audience for NSFW Show. And it has gotten very close to 50 Shades of Grey in the rankings.
It's getting 5-star reviews.
Yeah, it's getting lots of reviews. But I just think it's interesting, this article that's sort of very objectively assessing this novel and its effect and their attempt to troll the internet. They say, look, some of the examples shown in Brian and Justin's video are actually not erotic novels. They're just novels that are written by female authors.
This is just funny to me. I mean, the idea that some 50 Shades of Grey enthusiasts would download the Diamond Club and start reading and go, wait a second, this is not the erotica that I paid my good money for.
It's 99 cents.
It's just funny. I mean, that's like, it kind of reminds me of, you think you're watching a titillating video and then it ends up being something else and you feel very cheated out of your time. I don't know.
There's titillating stuff in here. Here's a quote. I'll be serving you hot roasted nuts on this flight.
Yes, the whole thing is titillating. That's the entire point of it, right? You're not going to pick any line out of there that isn't titillating. That's all it is.
Every single line is.
It's an entire collection of that. So anyway, if you don't want to read that sort of thing, don't buy it. But it's 99 cents.
It's 99 cents. I bought it.
Yeah,
probably not going to
Roasted
read it.
peanuts on a flight?
Yeah.
I'll take them.
Sounds
nice.
good.
Enjoy the
Warmed?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
On Southwest.
Okay.
Airlines.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Is there anything on the calendar?
Well, Tom, it's interesting that you ask because originally we had nothing. But thanks to you, we actually have history because although
All we
tech
have
history today,
really is our
it's really, we'll always have yesterday. You have continued on with Tech History Today.
Yes.
Even though we're not actually airing it on,
I just post
on
the
the TWiT
items
network. So why don't we actually look to August 3rd and see what happened on this day in 1811? When Elisha Otis was born, he invented a safety brake that prevented elevators from falling if the hoisting cable broke. In 1958, on this day, the nuclear submarine, the USS Nautilus, became the first watercraft to reach the geographic North Pole.
What's it with you and Warcraft today?
I don't know. Watercraft. And finally, in 1977, on this day, Tandy Corp of Texas held a New York press conference to announce that it will manufacture the TRS-80. Which was what?
So it's the TRS-80's birthday.
What's the TRS-80?
You go, Trash 80.
It was, a computer.
Okay.
It was fun.
Some people called it a computer.
Computers are fun.
Those people on the other side of the computer lab, I was using Apple IIs.
Didn't that thing have an 8008?
I think, yeah. I think
Wow.
it did.
I called that thing fun when I went to Radio Shack and they'd have one set up and you could play it for free.
Did you dial
awesome.
into it?
No.
You have to dial in.
Also, on Sunday, don't forget, 10 p.m. Pacific time, 1 a.m. Eastern time, we'll do live coverage of the Mars Curiosity lander. John Strickland will be joining me. We got Phil Plait coming in, Dr. Kiki. We'll interview the project manager of the guy who invented the sky crane, which is the last thing that lowers the Curiosity rover to the surface. He tells us why they came up with this crazy sky crane way of landing, what is essentially a small car on the surface of Mars. So we got that too.
Well, good.
Yeah.
We all have plans then on Sunday night.
I'll be tuning in.
All right. Let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
We got a voicemail about our discussion earlier of free-to-play. Kind of bears on the Warcraft story from the News Fuse as well.
Hi, this is Brian from Minnesota. Speaking up about free-to-play games. In the past, I would typically buy about one new video game, computer game each year, because I just never had $60 sitting in my pocket waiting to be spent. Free-to-play has let me try out a bunch more games, and then by spending $5 here, $2 there, $10 here, I end up spending a lot more on video games. And so I believe the entire video game, computer game, MMO market is enriched by that. It worked to get more money out of me. I'm sure it works to get more money out of a lot of people. Have a great day.
That's the anecdotal story that is what all of the game makers are hoping becomes the statistically provable story, which is people get sucked in, spend more money. I definitely, with iOS apps, have spent way too much money on certain games.
Well, it's so easy to because it's that one click and then boom, 99 cents. You know, you don't even have to think about it. It's like, hey, would you like to release some dopamine for 99 cents? Because I'll show you a progress bar that says installing and something cool might happen. Because that one time something cool did happen.
No, not installing. I'm talking about in-app purchases. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about you don't spend anything on the game. You install the game, and then you play the game, and then you're like, oh, but I just need a few more bucks and I can get that Aerojet.
And all of a sudden you've paid so much more than that $3 app you might have bypassed because it was $3, not free.
So, Tom, would you like to pay $200 for the cell phone now, and then we'll give you at a subsidized price, and then you just pay a little every month extra? Or would you want to pay $700 right now for the phone?
Actually, it's even worse than that, right? It's like, hey, we'll give you the phone for free, and then when you're like, would you like to answer this call? It's just 10 cents.
Yeah, that's
I like that
actually
model.
a business model that would be really fun.
Yeah.
I wonder if ShadyTel could do that, or maybe NinjaTel.
Right. If in the emails, we got a lot of email. I got a couple of emails anyway about us joking about HD phone calls. Brian points out that Anantech had an article about Sprint's HD voice feature. I'd forgotten all about that. Thanks, Brian. Also, Doug pointed out HD phone calls HD voice is available from VoIP providers like Ooma. You just got to remember that HD can be thrown around to mean anything.
It's meaningless at this point.
Supposedly better than the other thing.
Because when we were talking about this yesterday, I'm like, that is a real thing. I'm pretty sure it is because I actually have an Umotelo. So like I know that stupid little branding, HD voice, and it does sound better, but it's...
Well, I mean, how could it not sound better? We're talking about 7 bits, 22 kilohertz. Yeah, it's going to sound way better.
Are we going to start hearing about 4K voice?
Yeah,
once
I know,
the 4K
I love that.
TVs
I love
arrive?
that idea.
Ultra HD voice, probably.
And that's next, right?
And then eventually our ears just won't be able to tell the difference, which I already can't anyway.
I'm still partial to DS1 signaling because I love a robbed bit, but that's for my PSTN fans.
Got another email from Bryant in Lexington, Kentucky. He writes, I just watched episode 556, and I believe your speculation about how the Aereo lawsuit would affect the future wasn't broad enough. This win could result in local affiliates picking up a similar business model and broadcasting their signal over the internet. This could result in a win-win for the networks. This would be a measurable revenue stream for the networks and the affiliate, especially if they get Nielsen involved. I'd be worried if I were a cable provider, though, because if my local stations here in Lexington, Kentucky had an internet broadcast, I'd cut the cord today. The network should be looking at this as a way to continue and maybe even expand their current revenue stream.
But that's the problem, is Aereo is not giving the local channels any money, and the local channels get money from the cable providers now because of the must-carry laws. Oddly enough, the must-carry law allows the channel to make the cable company pay them to carry them. It's just a weirdness of the way the law was written. So I'm not sure that they would do that, even though it would expand their audience and they would get more advertising. They want the advertising and the carriage fee.
They want it all.
They want it all. They want it now.
Now.
That's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Thanks to everybody for submitting stories at our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Place to go to let us know what kind of stories you would like us to be talking about on the show. We take a look at it every single day and figure it into our lineup creation algorithm. What's going on at Hack 5, Darren?
Eavesdropping, phishing attacks, hijacking, injection, Wi-Fi. I did a huge workshop at the Noise Bridge Hackerspace in San Francisco, and so that is the third part of this epic workshop is being broadcast at hack5.org, and then tune in next week for all sorts of good stuff from Black Hat and DEF CON.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that one, too. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv. And you can give us a call. Leave us a voicemail. 260-TNT-SHOW is the number. We will be back Monday with a very sleepy Jonathan Strickland. We'll see you then.